Almost everybody moving to Northern Virginia thinks they're the exception to the commute. Everybody else gets burned out, but they think they'll handle it differently. I only go in 3 days a week. I'll listen to podcasts. I used to commute in New York. It's not that bad. And a year later, they quietly regret the lifestyle they created. And the crazy part is most people don't regret the house. They regret the life surrounding the house. That's what nobody talks about. Northern Virginia is filled with smart, successful, analytical people. And intelligent people are very good at rationalizing emotional decisions. People think they're buying houses here. A lot of times, they're really buying identity, status, validation, school anxiety, fantasy lifestyles. And later, they realize the zip code looked better than a daily experience actually feels. Stay with me because later in this video, I want to talk about something I think quietly changes people's personalities in Northern Virginia. Commuting, not just schedules, personalities. But first, you have to understand what people are really buying when they choose neighborhoods. And it usually isn't what they think. Some of the most unhappy buyers I've ever worked with bought objectively beautiful homes. That's the weird part. I'm talking gorgeous homes. Huge kitchen, perfect landscaping, massive basement, 3-car garage, the whole thing. And for the first 6 months after settlement, emotionally, they're flying high. Friends are impressed. Parents are impressed. Coworkers are impressed. And in Northern Virginia, that matters more than people admit. This is a very achievement-oriented area. People absolutely size each other up here. Politely, indirectly, sophisticatedly, but constantly. What do you do? What district? Oh wow, McLean? You bought in Vienna? You're in Arlington now? There's social coding underneath all of these conversations. Everybody knows it. But then, about a year later, reality starts leaking in quietly. Husband realizes he's spending 2 hours a day draining himself in traffic. The wife realizes the giant house somehow made everybody less connected because now everyone disappears into separate rooms. The weekends become maintenance. And slowly this question starts entering their mind. Why doesn't this feel better? That is the moment I am fascinated by. Now we're not talking about real estate anymore. Now we're talking about identity, projection, expectation, lifestyle mismatch. And Northern Virginia is full of lifestyle mismatch. I've had buyers tell me, we really see ourselves entertaining. Then I get to know them. They hate entertaining. They bought the fantasy version of themselves. And Northern Virginia is full of fantasy self-buying. The fantasy urban buyer moves to Arlington imagining cafe mornings and walkable sophistication. And then 6 months later, they're circling for parking, ordering DoorDash in sweatpants. The fantasy suburban family moves farther out, imagining peaceful family life, then accidentally turn themselves into full-time chauffeurs. The fantasy historic charm buyer romanticizes Old Town Alexandria. Then year 2 arrives and suddenly parking, stairs, tourists, maintenance don't feel nearly as charming anymore. And by the way, if you've ever caught yourself saying, we thought we'd use the yard more, you are very not alone. I hear that constantly. The issue isn't whether neighborhoods are good or bad. The issue is alignment. Does the neighborhood support your real lifestyle or your imagined identity? These are radically different things. And nowhere in Northern Virginia is that more obvious than school. Let me say something clear from the start. Yes, schools matter, obviously. But some people in Northern Virginia are making fear-based decisions disguised as educational decisions. And most people don't even realize it. This is a hyper-achievement culture. Parents here are terrified their children will fall behind. So families obsess over rankings, AP classes, school pyramids, acceptance statistics. And I've watched families spend an extra $400,000 chasing a slightly different school pyramid while simultaneously increasing their stress, commute, household anxiety, and marital tension. And nobody wants to say this publicly here, but not every child thrives in pressure cooker environments. Some do. Others need confidence, balance, community, and breathing room. Northern Virginia can become so achievement-oriented that some parents stop asking, will my child actually be happy here? And start asking, will this look like the right decision? That's different, very different. A lot of families in Northern Virginia are exhausted. Everybody's optimizing, everybody's rushing, everybody's managing schedules. Eventually, some people wake up and realize, we built an impressive life, but not necessarily an enjoyable one. School pressure isn't even the thing I think hurts people most here. Commuting is. Almost everybody moving to Northern Virginia thinks they are the exception. Everybody else gets burned out by commuting, but somehow they'll handle it differently. And in the beginning, a lot of people can handle it. The damage happens slowly. Commuting is not transportation in Northern Virginia. It's emotional depletion. This traffic is mentally aggressive. You're constantly rerouting, checking, anticipating, adjusting. Your nervous system never fully settles. And over time, that changes people. Not dramatically at first, subtly. You become less patient, less social, more tired, more irritable. You stop saying yes to things. You stop wanting to go back out at night. Your world slowly narrows. And because everybody around you is exhausted too, it starts feeling normal. That's the dangerous part. I've had people say to me, we never go into DC anymore. And they only live 15 miles away. That's not distance, that's depletion. That's lifestyle shrinkage. I think people radically underestimate how much energy affects happiness. Not money, energy. You can have the gorgeous house, the amazing schools, the prestigious neighborhood, but if you're constantly depleted, you won't enjoy any of it properly. People become less patient, less emotionally available, more transactional. The commute, however, is only the first layer. The deeper trap is something I call performance living. I think a surprising amount of Northern Virginia is performance living. People unconsciously building lifestyles designed to look successful externally, while privately feeling overwhelmed internally. Beautiful kitchen, prestigious zip code, high-ranking schools, perfect landscaping, everything photographed beautifully. But underneath, people are exhausted. And eventually, the house stops being a place to live and starts becoming part of the identity structure. Now, simplifying feels like failure. Choosing convenience over prestige feels like failure. Downsizing can feel like failure, even if those decisions would massively improve the quality of life. And Northern Virginia absolutely amplifies this because there is always a bigger house, a better district, a more prestigious zip code, and a more impressive renovation, always. Eventually, some people wake up and realize, I built a life that photographs better than it feels. It looks great on social media. That life hits hard because I think a lot of people privately relate to it, especially here. Older I get, the less impressed I am by externally impressive lifestyles that don't actually look that enjoyable. I'm much more interested now in energy, peace, connection, flexibility, presence. That's what people actually feel daily. The phrase forever home causes massive distortion in Northern Virginia. Once people think this has to work forever, they emotionally overbuy. Now the house has to solve future kids, future guests, future offices, future entertaining, future everything. People are terrible at predicting who they'll actually become. The couple buying at 32 has almost no idea who they'll be at 45. Life changes you. Your priorities change, your energy changes, your marriage changes, your children change. People buy homes like identity is frozen permanently. That's a dangerous move. Sometimes the forever home quietly becomes a trap people emotionally outgrow. It's not just the forever timeline that gets people into trouble. It's that buyers often see the red flags in real time and emotionally override them anyway. People will drive the commute and think this feels awful, but then they walk into the kitchen, suddenly their brain starts negotiating. This won't be so bad. I'll adjust. It's only 3 days a week. That's how people talk themselves into lifestyles. Or they'll quietly realize this neighborhood feels isolating, but then they see the schools, the square footage, and the prestige and override their instincts. If you feel uneasy about a neighborhood during the home search, pay attention to that. Housing is emotional. Your nervous system lives there. Your marriage lives there. Your stress lives there. This is not just an investment spreadsheet. People fall in love with homes under fantasy emotional conditions. Sunny Saturday, coffee in hand, no traffic, no exhaustion. That's not real. Real is Tuesday at 6:15 p.m. in the rain after a hard day at work. That's the life you're actually buying. The quartz countertops just become normal in 6 months. Your 90-minute commute won't. Some Northern Virginia neighborhoods are quietly lonely. Beautiful, safe, successful, and lonely. Garage opens, garage closes, everybody disappears. Now compare that to walkable communities, older neighborhoods, places where people naturally encounter each other. That changes life dramatically. And after the pandemic, a lot of people realized, oh wow, my entire life is isolated. I think some people are not depressed. They're disconnected. Disconnected from community, spontaneity, friendships, human interaction. And neighborhoods can absolutely affect that massively. You know who usually makes the best neighborhood decisions? The most self-aware buyers. The people willing to say, I actually hate driving. We value calm more than prestige. I don't care if the house is smaller, if my life feels easier. Those people usually end up happiest in the long term. One of the most underrated questions buyers can ask themselves is, what does our actual evening look like? Not fantasy life, a weekday evening. That's real life. Because people buy homes emotionally on Saturdays or Sundays and experience them practically on Tuesdays. The longer I work in real estate, the less I think this business is about houses. It's about identity, fear, family, marriage, stress, lifestyle, energy, and alignment. That's what's really happening underneath most people's house searches. And once you understand that, you stop asking, what's the best neighborhood? And start asking, what kind of life does this neighborhood naturally create? That's the smarter question. Eventually, the kitchen becomes normal. The Arlington zip code becomes normal. The prestige becomes normal. Your daily rhythm doesn't. So if you're thinking about moving anywhere in Northern Virginia, slow down psychologically before you speed up financially. Really think, not just what house do we want, but what life are we accidentally creating? Because your commute, your energy, your weekends, your family, your stress level, your social life, that becomes your real day-to-day life. This is a huge part of what I help buyers think through now. Not just pricing, contracts, negotiations, do those things too, but lifestyle adjustment, lifestyle alignment, commute reality, neighborhood personality, emotional trade-offs people usually don't fully understand until after they move. The smartest buyers in Northern Virginia usually are not the people chasing the most impressive neighborhood. They're the people self-aware enough to choose the life they'll actually enjoy living.